The time is now 5:30. The date is April 21st, 2026. We will call to order the meeting for Statesboro City Council and Mayor. We will have our Pledge of Allegiance by Sherry Vaughn, and we'll have our prayer by Mr. Marcus Toohey. Mr. Marcus.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day and your many mercies to us. We thank you for the cool weather, but we do pray for rain. And I thank you for this body of city council and mayor and all of the city employees. Grant them your wisdom that they may make decisions that reflect that wisdom and that are good and just and beneficial for the people, both in the short term and in the long term. And we do pray for the nation at large. Lord, grant us peace and help our leaders to make decisions that lead to peace. And we thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
As you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move down to agenda item 3. We do have an additional item that we would like to pull up before we go to item 3A. Chief Graham. Here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So mentioned in the work session, we learned officially this afternoon. I received word that Statesboro has received the ISO Class 1 rating. That is the highest possible classification that a fire department can achieve within the ISO Public Protection Classification System. We're extremely proud of that. I will tell you that it's a testament to our staff. It's their training, professionalism, pride is what's guiding us there. We are in elite status out of over 37,000 fire departments in the nation. There are just over 500 that achieve a Class 1. So something for us to be very proud of. I wanted to share that news. Obviously, we will put something out officially through a press release in the morning for the media folks here tonight. I tried to get it this afternoon, but again, it was just a little late with the work session pressing and all that, but did want to share that with council.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 3A, which is a presentation of the city's fiscal year 2025 audit results by Richard Deal with Lanier, Deal and Rock.
Good afternoon. Again, just want to thank the City Council for the opportunity for our firm, Lanier, Deal and Deal, to serve as the city's auditors. I went over the financial report in detail in the work session. Just want to briefly mention at the council meeting that the city of Statesboro is in great financial condition. The city's government-wide financials showed total assets of almost $236 million, and you had a total net position of $183 million, which was a little over $15 million or 9% increase for the year, which is very good. The general fund, which is the primary operating fund for the governmental activities, your general fund had an ending fund balance of around $6.9 million. About a $640,000 decrease for the year, but the fund balance is still very strong. If you look at your total annual expenditures, transfers out, your fund balance is still very adequate. I think it's like 27%. And your proprietary funds, enterprise funds did well. You have a total net position in the enterprise funds of approximately $81.5 million. It's very brief, but I'll be glad to answer any questions or anyone else might have.
All right, we'll open it up for council. Any discussion by council?
So in brief, we're in good shape.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we want. We don't want to hear it the other way. All right, thank you, Mr. Bill. All right, we'll go down to agenda item 4, which is public comments in regards to the agenda. Do we have any public comments in regards to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move down to agenda item 5, which is consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, which consists of our approval of our minutes from the April 7th council meeting minutes, as well as a consideration of a motion to approve the surplus and disposition of equipment in the Central Services Department that have exceeded their lifeline. Council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, let's move to agenda item 6, which is a public hearing, consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 26-03-01. Jake Reynolds and Elliot Wilson request a zoning map amendment on East Olive Street from R3 to R4. The district's R3 medium density multi-household district. The proposed project site is 3 separate tracts flanking East Olive Street with AC Dunlap Cemetery sitting between 2 parcels on the south side of the street. The proposed project is 16 separate lots consisting of duplexes, open and green spaces. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Justin, if you will.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As noted, this is a zoning map amendment to really take a few different tracts of land and give them one consistent zoning. It's actually one of the few cases that we have that is a down zoning situation. So we'll just talk a little bit about it. So there's 3 separate tracts of land surrounding AC Dunlap Cemetery. Those tracts are zoned between light industrial, R3 and R4. And they're really just looking to do those duplexes on this lot. So unfortunately, the mapping does not show the highlighted section, so I'll move on to the next one to give you a little idea. So you'll see the green conservation area listed here is actually AC Dunlap Cemetery, and the 3 parcels surrounding it to the north, east, and west are actually the parcels that this developer is looking to build up on. And those are zoned as a part of our redevelopment area. You'll see what I mentioned is the R4 zoning in brown, the R3 zoning in pink, and then in the other shade of pink is the light industrial district. So we're really getting rid of all the mixed up stuff over here. You'll see the actual concept plan. So there is a fairly large detention area behind some of those duplexes, but they are looking to save a number of those trees as outlined on this. So there's a number of photos here because it's just a bunch of different tracks, but you'll see the track from the right of way on Packing House facing into East Olive Street. And then you'll see the track 1 from the right of way of Packing House, and that's facing the north as well. So you'll see additional trees facing the south. So there's a number of those, just kind of giving you an overview of the area. AC Dunlap Cemetery is on your right. We do have the north side of the street. No, so this is facing the cemetery, facing the east specifically on your left. And the intersection of Orange Street and East Olive Street is on your right. And if I can go back just a moment, you'll see there are a number of duplexes already in this area as well. So additional photos, this is track 3, and that is facing the south. Track 3 facing the right of way of East Olive. And that's all our photos. So staff recommends approval of RZ 2603-01. The only condition that we have enumerated is that the applicant must provide a subdivision plat for approval prior to the issuance of any building permits. The Planning Commission actually did unanimously recommend approval on this project, and I believe the applicant is here to speak unless there are any questions of me.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Randy Dykes with MESAC Engineer, and I'm representing the petitioner, Jake Reynolds. The only clarification I'd like to make is it's 19 lots. I think he stated 16, but the drawing is actually 19 lots. And I could answer any other questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anyone here to speak against this request? All right. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's open it up for council discussion. Any discussion by council?
Makes sense.
Seeing that there is none. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Right, so that agenda item 6 has passed. We move on to agenda item 7. Public hearing consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 26-03-03. PM Properties LLC requests a zoning map amendment of 115 Park Avenue from R15 to R3. The parcel is 0.69 acres and proposed to convert the single-family house into a multifamily with 4 dwelling and an attached accessory dwelling unit totaling 5 units. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All of those in favor? All right, Justin, if you will.
So as you mentioned, Mayor, this is a single-family house in this existing neighborhood. It's about 3,600 square feet. The applicant is looking to break this house up into individual apartment units, and I'll just go through our photos for it. So you'll see here on the corner, actually, is the house as it stands. There's not additional parking or anything, but there is a carport located on the site at this time. You'll see this is in our established residential district, which generally doesn't allow for multifamily. It is also listed as a part of the Savannah Historic District as well. And you'll see the R15 zoning in place. There is no multifamily zoning in this area, although there is actually some non-conforming uses in the neighborhood. There's a couple of duplexes that have populated over the years, but there are no records as to how they showed up. So they are existing non-conforming uses.
It just showed up.
So you'll see on your left the actual home facing west off of Park Avenue. And you'll see one of those properties I mentioned facing the northwest. That one's kind of a little duplex, not too far away, but you can also see all the way down the street to Savannah Avenue. You'll see some adjacent photos of different houses. This one's facing the east, and it is a single family residence, generally large lot. This is a well-established neighborhood. And you'll also see property facing the southeast. And additional photos of the housing here. It's just generally single-family houses throughout the neighborhood. And then, of course, the historic district of Savannah Avenue, when you actually get on Savannah. So staff does recommend denial of RZ 2603-03. If the petition is approved, the following enumerated conditions should apply. So the first one is that the approval of the request doesn't grant permission to begin building modifications. That one's specifically in relation to a stop work order that was issued back in November of last year for this property. Since then, there's been no additional work that staff has noted on the house because of the requirement for this rezoning and building permitting. The second condition is that the applicant must submit a parking plan prior to the issuance of any permits. If it is approved, we need to see how they're going to get people on there. And the third one is that the ADU may not exceed the square footage as outlined in section 2.4.1, which caps it out at 749 square feet. So the Planning Commission did also recommend denial. There was one that abstained from that vote, but the remainder of the commission was unanimous on it. And unless there are questions for me, that completes my report.
Council? Okay. All right, is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Finney. My name is Chris Gohagan. I'm an attorney with Talby Rushing here in Statesboro. I'm pleased to be here tonight on behalf of PMM Properties to seek your approval of this rezone request at 115 Park Avenue. I'm joined tonight by Philip Carr on behalf of PMM Properties LLC and Jason Turner from Turner's Contracting Solutions, the contractor for this project. If you have any questions about design or operations, I'll refer those questions to those gentlemen. I want to start by thanking Mr. Williams, Ms. Gann, all of the city staff for their work on this report. As mentioned, they have recommended denial of this rezone request, but if this council elects to approve the request, they provided some conditions, put some benchmarks around this project, and all of those are agreeable to the developers. In addition, if this council grants the request, all of the standards for multifamily properties will apply to this property, not just the conditions that you've seen set forth in the PowerPoint tonight, and they will all be followed. I'm going to show you quickly the current state of this property, tell you a little bit about the plans for the property, and then we'll be happy to entertain any questions you have. This, on your screen, you'll see an aerial image from QPublic of the site at 115 that's outlined in blue. I'm going to show you a bunch of aerials tonight, and those blue circles will move around, but I'll try to reorient you each time. This is the view from Park Avenue looking at the front of the property. As mentioned by Mr. Williams, the square footage is 3,666 square feet. There's 8 rooms in this home. It's located on a 0.706 acres lot according to our most recent survey data. It is a double lot, and it's a corner lot at Park and East Grady. As you'll see in the first picture, and as mentioned by Mr. Williams, there is an open carport on the end of the property that will be closed in as part of this project. Since PMM acquired this property several years ago, it's been rented out to college students. The plan for the property is to convert the existing rooms inside into individual units and market those to young professionals, young families, and tenants who are appropriate for the downtown setting and who want to live in downtown Statesboro. This is a rendering of the improvements. This shows the ADU as viewed from Park Avenue. You'll see the open carport has been fully enclosed to create the accessory dwelling unit, which importantly is already authorized under the existing zoning. If you deny this rezone request, the ADU moves forward because it's authorized under R15, as Mr. Williams just noted. So the closing in of the open carport on the end of the house and the addition of parking on the lot will be the only exterior alterations that anyone will see with this property. There are going to be some refreshes to the outside. There's going to be some work on the back deck, which is existing on the property, and just some landscaping and facade improvements just to freshen up the property. But all of the work that's at issue in this application will take place inside of the home. These are renderings. I apologize they didn't transfer to PowerPoint as clearly as I would like. On the left is a floor plan for the bottom of the home, and on the right is the floor plan for the top. This slide shows the 4 individual units broken out with their floor plans provided. Again, these are existing suites in the home that would just be converted into individually leasable units. Each unit, the units would all range from 555 square feet to 811 square feet. And again, it would be marketed to a different tenant. Again, the ADU is permitted. The property can be inhabited as it states. The developer believes the highest and best use of the property is as multifamily. It's set up with 4 suites already. It's a natural conversion, and we think it's an attractive project on an attractive lot in a transitioning area of downtown. I understand there are a lot of people here tonight who have concerns about the project. I'm going to reserve the balance of my time to respond to any concerns you hear from them, and I'll rejoin you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against the request?
Yes. There are 3 of us.
3 of you?
There are 3 of you. We understand we have 10 minutes. Well, is that correct?
Okay. Where's the other seat?
Right here.
Okay, come on forward. May I photograph a seat over here? You said?
Well, we have,
We have
this is
3.
3.
representing
Yeah, we have 3 representing the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Missy Bennett. I'm a homeowner at 122 Park Avenue, and my family has lived there since 1992. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbors in opposition to the rezoning of 115 Park Avenue from R15 single family to R3 multifamily. And I'd like to ask all the neighbors who are here in opposition to this to please stand. Stay there, don't go anywhere. I'd like to show you where this neighborhood is. This neighborhood encompasses, as you can see on this first map, the yellow markings on this map encompass this neighborhood is represented here tonight. That's Park Avenue, Savannah Avenue, College Boulevard, East Grady Street, East Inman, Jones, and Brannon. And my husband would like to approach you and hand you a folder if that's admissible. You'll see in that the petitions signed by these homeowners in the neighborhood. You'll find more than 100 signatures in those. And so thank you, neighbors. Y'all can be seated at this time. I'd like to say thank you to the mayor and city council for your service on this council, and to us, it benefits our entire community. In this neighborhood, we are home builders and small business owners. We're medical professionals of all types. We're teachers, guidance counselors, school administrators, university professors. We are retirees. We're young parents. We are designers. We're videographers. We work in nonprofits. We work in government jobs. We're pilots and skilled laborers. We're accountants and lawyers, and that's just the beginning. The point is, we live here. We work here. We raise our families here. We care for our properties. We pour time and energy and untold amounts of money into these old houses that we live in. There are some new ones. Jamie Carty built a beautiful one, and we all covet his plumbing. We sit on boards in this community. We volunteer in this community, and we are present and we contribute in this community. Let's contrast that with the new owner of 115 Park Avenue, Mr. Philip B. Carr, doing business as PMM Properties, registered in Virginia. The home at 115 Park Avenue is zoned R15 single family. With this full understanding, he purchased this home in 2022, and it appears that Mr. Carr has never intended to live in the home. I've not met him. He has rented the rooms in the home to various and sundry people since that time, and I live across the street and 2 doors down. So if you've ever had a rental property near you, we should chat about what goes on. In addition, without city building permits or zoning variants, he began chopping up this property into those suites you heard about. What kind of property owners should we encourage in our city? Those who work and care for their homes and properties, or absentee landlords with, at best, questionable practices? Let me tell you a little bit about this home at 115 Park Avenue. It was built in 1920 for the Tillman family. Miss Betty Tillman Hodges is 98, and she still lives in our community. Her son is Dr. John Hodges. He's a retired orthopedic surgeon. You might have needed his services. Since 1920, this has been a single-family home. We aren't sure when zoning came to Statesboro, but it was late 70s, late 80s, somewhere in there. It was finally given a zoned address of R15 single family. So for 102 years, this was a single family home until it was purchased in 2022. It sits on the corner of Park and East Grady Street, and that is squarely in the Savannah Avenue Historic District. As you see this map, in the early 1990s, the homeowners in the area applied to the U.S. Department of Interior for designation as a National Register of Historic Places. 115 Park Avenue, as you can see in red, is designated on the register. There are pages in your handout behind the over 100 signatures on the petition. There are 3 pages that show this clearly. The National Register extends off of Savannah Avenue through the first block of College and the first block of Park. This home is listed, and there's a photo. This photo came from, the previous photo came from that application. How many cities and towns wish their historic district was included on the National Register of Historic Places? This is something to be proud of, and it's certainly something people consider, many of these people here tonight, considered when purchasing property in our city. Rezoning this home into apartments is completely incompatible with the existing neighborhood. And I'm going to turn it over to my neighbor, Steve.
Hello, I'm Steve Brownlee. I'm at 306 College. I'm going to cut mine really short here for time. The one thing that I would say, we beat the R15 thing to death, and we all understand what that means now, but I'm going to talk about how allowing a multi-unit apartment building to be built in the middle of a single-family neighborhood sort of constitutes spot zoning. We're sort of getting into that a little bit here. Spot zoning only serves to benefit one party to the detriment of everybody else and the greater good. It creates unfairness, distrust, and smacks of favoritism, and is best avoided. to sort of get an approval for spot zoning, you have to prove a hardship. That there's some unjust act, rule that you have to prove a hardship to get a spot zoning approved. That is not a direct result of the owner's actions. That the relief sought will not have a negative impact on the neighbors or the public welfare. Most importantly, proof that the relief sought isn't contrary to the intent of the current codes, which we all know it is. So with that, I'm going to yield the bulk of the time to Scott and step out of the way and see if we can get this thing.
Yes. Good evening. I'm going to go fast. If you look at the front page of your petition, it outlines for you what we as a neighborhood would like for you to do with this particular petition. So I'm going to skip that part and basically say that when I sat down and looked across the dais, and I'm not just blowing sunshine, one thing unites every single one of you, and it's my fervent belief, especially looking at you, that you love this community. And I think that's why you sit where you sit. We spend a lot of time governing, public hearings, creating ordinances, getting feedback. Just this past October, you adopted the next 5-year plan. The hard part, I think, comes after that, and it's leadership. But that leadership is what we need tonight. I think the issue is pretty cut and dry in what's in front of us. It's your leadership and your love for this community that will send the message that ordinances, zoning, the permitting process, those aren't just suggestions. Those are things that we've all spent time working on to ensure that our community stays strong and that we are protecting the integrity of the neighborhoods throughout our city. In addition to what you have listed on that sheet, a lot of work has been done in this particular property, and we would respectfully request that you have the owner restore that to a single-family residence, to the state that it was in when it was purchased. We don't have the luxury of living in some county communities, Iron Gate, for example, where we have homeowners associations. We have the city of Statesboro. You're our homeowners association. You're the ones that we need, that we turn to in issues like this to help us maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much. I think we have one more.
Hello, my name is Lee Ames. I live at 314 East Grady Street. My property is directly across from the double lot. So as the house faces Park that we are discussing, the back side, that empty lot, and the side of that property are directly across from my double lot. I do believe that there will be no one else affected as much as I will be. I have been tormented by some tenants of this property management company and have called the police. They have dumped trash, blasted music in their car with the car door open, with the windows open, sometimes from 8:30 in the morning until 4 a.m. It has been a horrible nuisance to the point that I've seen him, the gentleman, show violence, and he was the night before the meeting 2 weeks ago on April 6th. I came to speak at the meeting on the 7th. The night before, there was an entire SWAT team show up at around 6:30, and police department, Bullitt County Sheriff's Department had to do a standoff, and eventually he came out being drugged through the grass and taken away. If they cannot choose better tenants, they shouldn't be choosing tenants. I also have seen workers come in and do their work after the stop work order. I have spoken to employees prior to the stop work order. I went over one time after watching this gentleman and what I thought might be his two sons coming and going, sleeping in the house for a month, and walked over with my little plant and my welcome to the neighborhood card to find out that he was a contractor and wasn't even licensed to do electrical work. I don't believe that is a good sign of a property management company that makes ethical choices. The issue about cars and noise, if you've got 5 rooms, 5 little mini apartments, whatever you want to call them, you've got the girlfriend and the boyfriend coming over. You've got their friends coming over. Maybe it's a study group. So if you've got 5 units and you multiply that by potentially 4 visitors, we're talking 25, and that's not even if they have a party. Now, who do you think that's going to impact the most? It is terrifying to me to see this area be put under such unnecessary stress and the things that come with that kind of lifestyle living arrangement and unit. It's unacceptable, and I am begging you, please do not do this to us. Please. Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Missy, that's everybody?
As far as I know.
Anyone else against? Okay, per order, there was a retaining of time, for.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to thank the members of the community who may come out tonight to let you know their concerns with the project. I know a lot of these folks. These are friends and colleagues of mine. These are smart, well-intentioned people who want to preserve what they know of their neighborhood. And nothing I have said in the past or will say tonight is meant to diminish their concerns or their point of view in any way. We disagree on this zoning issue. That is not the first time I've disagreed with somebody on a zoning issue, and it surely won't be the last. Zoning is a specific set of restrictions applied to a specific piece of property. It's an aberration of the common law. The presumption under our law is that property owners can do with their property what they want. Zoning is a very good idea and a well-intentioned plan to control some of that, but zoning is only effective when it's connected to promotion of the public interest and welfare. And there are a lot of concerns that go into decisions that affect the public interest and welfare. They're very broad. They have a lot of factors to them. And I want to address some of those factors with you tonight. Again, thank you to the members of the community who came to speak and share their concerns. I jotted down some of those concerns as I did at Planning Commission. And again, those are all valid concerns. I would submit to you that not all of these items are within the purview of this council as it relates to a decision as to whether to rezone this piece of property. I can't agree with the implication that renters aren't teachers, accountants, lawyers, contributing members of our society. I won't agree with that position. And the fact is, this council is not in the position to determine whether property is owner occupied or rented. That is not within the purview of your decision-making authority, and it's not an issue in this application. What is relevant?
It's on the floor.
Thank you. Is the issue of spot zone, and I want to address that. Can you put it in the presentation? The property we're talking about is at 115 Park Avenue. It's immediately below the property highlighted in blue on this slide. That is 113 Park Avenue, immediately north of 115. It's a duplex. The next property going north is 111 Park Avenue. It's a triplex in the front. It's a duplex in the back. As we head west from 115 Park, you get to 309 and 311 East Grady Street, duplex. Continuing west on East Grady, you get to 116 A through C College Boulevard, a triplex. Moving further down College Boulevard, half a block, you can still see 115 Park in the top right corner of this image. You've got another duplex. And if you head a little bit further down Grady Street, you can still see 115 Park to the right, the double lot. There's a 10-unit apartment building on East Grady Street. Now, all these buildings have been there for quite some time. It is true, the entire area is zoned R15, including everywhere around this subject property. But to suggest that there are not multifamily properties in this neighborhood just isn't accurate. There are multifamily properties all over this area. This is an image of the properties I just showed you with 115 highlighted in blue. Those are the multifamily properties just that I could fit inside of this image. So the fact of the matter is the zoning in this area doesn't reflect the actual use of many of the properties in the area. Importantly, if you head down Park Avenue to to the other end towards Howard Lumber. At 513 Park Avenue, you will find an R3 multifamily property. If you grant this zoning request, this isn't going to be the only R3 property in this historic residential neighborhood. In fact, it won't be the only R3 property on Park Avenue. There's another one that's been there for many years. This council, as I mentioned, is guided by what is in the public interest, safety, and welfare. That's a community-wide concern. This council has taken up that concern a number of times, including in the 2025 update to the city's comprehensive plan, which was just adopted last July, so less than a year ago. The city identified a weakness in housing. I'm going to read it to you. A shortage of diverse and affordable housing options is a growing concern. Limited availability of workforce housing, student accommodations, and mixed income developments can create barriers for residents and workers alike. This imbalance may contribute to rising housing costs, longer commutes, and difficulty attracting and retaining talent, particularly in key sectors like education, healthcare, and public services. Those are your words. Strategies implemented to address that. I apologize, this didn't render well. In fact, I'm going to have to come over here to read it. Number 9, provide safe, clean, and affordable housing choices to Statesboro residents of varying income levels. Number 11, increase homeownership and rental opportunities while encouraging different types of housing, including single-family, townhouses, apartments, and cottage courts throughout Statesboro. This council has recognized we have a need for diversity and affordability of housing. That requires multiple housing products throughout our city. This is an opportunity for that council to address the issue it has recognized through strategies that it has already implemented. A vote to rezone this property is not a vote against the well-meaning good people who are in this room who are concerned about it. It's a vote for the people who aren't in this room who also want to call downtown Statesboro home. So we ask that you look favorably upon it.
Thank you. Is there a motion to close here?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? I want to open this up for council discussion. Any discussion by council?
I want to speak for Mr. John Riggs, District 4 council person who's not able to be with us tonight, but he wanted me to share with the rest of the council and mayor and whoever's here that he does not support this variance, this change in zoning.
Anything further from council?
I guess I could go on to say that I agree with a lot of what Mr. Gohagan said, and I agree that tenants, renters are not inherently worse neighbors than homeowners. But I see nodding heads, we're acknowledging that that's true. And yet there is still a need for housing. And there is other housing around, and I like diversity, but most of those are kind of grandfathered in. And when we put zoning in place, it was to protect further change. So my intention, my thinking, unless y'all persuade me differently, is that we don't need to grant this variance. It's what it is now, and it's what it's been, and how people want it to be. Chris, do you have something?
I just wanted to clarify, we're not seeking a variance, it's a
I'm
rezone,
sorry.
different standards. And some of the standards you heard tonight are variance standards, not rezone standards.
Gotcha, thank you. Yeah, it's easy for it to run together. So yeah, I'm thinking we do not want to rezone this property.
All right, anything further from council? Okay. All right, do we have a motion?
I move to deny.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those in favor? Okay. All right, let us show that agenda item number 7 has been denied. I would like to use a point of privilege in this space. What I'm concerned about, and staff, I'm gonna ask y'all to give me some help on this. Why do we not know how those other developments are there?
Well,
You can go ahead, Mr. Green.
Well, no, you come on.
Yes, sir.
From what we were able to find, unfortunately, there were no records related to building permits on those lots. We noticed that there were a few duplexes floating around, but we couldn't find record of them. So they just sort of popped up at some point, but we were not made aware of it. So the work that was done to those homes was not inspected by city staff, didn't go through the appropriate process.
The way this fiveplex is gonna pop up.
Right.
So again,
The way the fiveplex is gonna pop up.
But it's not just work, it's a gigantic building
yeah.
in my backyard.
Okay. So, we'll allow Mr. Kenny to point first.
And the difficulty is when people are working inside buildings without permits. And I say this to the public, when you see something like that happening, you need to call us so that we can send our inspectors out there. Because we recognize that people can do, people have certain rights. But when you start impacting electrical codes and things of that nature, that work should not be done without a permit. So if you see some of that, we have code enforcement, we have building inspectors, and I know folks don't like it when we, and some of y'all that are shaking your head might not like it either. If you're running a business, but right is right.
Correct.
And building codes are designed for protection of the tenants, the homeowners. But when you see stuff, don't think you're bothering us by calling us and letting us know. We will send our people out there to find out. And if something inappropriate is going on, we will do a stop work order.
Well, I got an idea of what happened. I got an idea. But that's neither here nor there. We're gonna move down to it. We thank y'all for coming out. Consideration of a motion to approve resolution 26-15, a resolution to terminate the memorandum of understanding for the Zombie Worship Center regarding the redevelopment of real property.
Mayor, members of the council, if you remember, Chris.
Mayor, would you be able to repeat the resolution? I could hardly hear it on the live stream.
All right, this is a repeat of agenda item 8, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2026-15, a resolution to terminate the memorandum of understanding with Agape Worship Center and Habitat for Humanity regarding the redevelopment of residential real property on the Johnson Street area. Mr. Perry.
Mayor, members of the council, you remember you came to for this arrangement between Habitat for Humanity and Agape Church, and you have some approval, the approval of the MOU. However, as we was proceeding with our CHIP grant, there were some things that the DCA was required, and this MOU does not meet that requirement. And so we had conversations, discussions with Habitat for Humanity and Agape, and you have letters from both of them withdrawing from the MOU. And so this evening, we're just asking you to approve the elimination of this MOU. And so we do recommend your approval this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Any discussion about council?
It does not mean our project won't move forward. This MOU just goes away.
So then it's done, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? All those in favor? Is everybody? All right, moving down to agenda item 9, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2026-16, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the Georgia Department of Transportation local maintenance and improvement grant safety action plan application for fiscal year 2026. Mr. Perry.
Mayor, members of the council, these are some supplemental funds from GDOT, going along with TELMIG for some safety measures. And all we're asking you tonight is for permission to apply for those funds. It's $128,015. There's a match requirement, which we are very capable of doing. And so we do recommend approval of of this request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion by council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was pleased to ask more questions and get more details about this. Our staff had listened when we had said we want more green, when we heard from Greener Borough Commission and they talked about bike improvements. Staff has listened, and part of this will be dedicated to restriping the roads that are wide enough to have bike lanes, the new striping put down with the electromagnetic that lasts longer. So yes, I am thrilled that this is happening. I appreciate staff listening and trying to do what we're asking for more of, safe biking and walking in the city.
Thank you, Madam Councilwoman. Any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, please.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda item 10. Consideration of the motion to approve resolution 2026-17, a resolution of the city of Statesboro, Georgia, to declare its official intent to issue the tax allocation district refunding revenue bond on all registered tab projects, series 2026, for the purpose of refunding its outstanding tax allocation district refunding revenue bond, series 2023. Authorizing the mayor and other officials of the city to take such further action as necessary to provide for the sale of such bonds and for other purposes. Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, members of the council, during the work session, you had a presentation from Doug Gephardt from our financial advisor. This is the beginning of that process. You adopt this resolution so we can then begin seeking funds in order to refinance. And this would be the last time. We refinanced the fund the first time because we didn't have enough revenue. This time, we're looking for permanent financing for this project, and eventually, so we'll repay the $4.5 million. And so this is the initial part of it. We do recommend approval. It will come back to you in May for your final approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion from council? Seeing there is none, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda item 11, consideration of a motion to approve a water sewer agreement with North Point Oak Grove LLC in order to serve 39.05 acres at Highway 67 and Thelma Phillips Drive outside the city limits. Mr. Bennett.
Mayor, members of the council, I think this is where we have a map. And you bring that map up. And the reason I asked, and I hope we can see the city limits line.
Zoom out, you said?
You can see the yellow is the city limit line. And this is not a new agreement, but what we have, mayor and council, you approved this agreement before. I think it's in 2022. 2023. And so, someone else is, I think there's going to be a transfer of the property, and so we're bringing this to you. So this agreement will remain with the property with the new owners. But the reason I asked them to show this to you is you are asked a lot about extending water and sewer into the county. But when those questions are asked of us, asked of you, the important thing is there are some places it just doesn't make sense for us to try to extend water and sewer. But in this case, it's close enough to the city limits that it could one day be in the city limits. And so that's the reason I asked staff to show this so that y'all can just see this area in blue is where this water and sewer will be, but you see it's not 200 miles from the city limits of Statesboro. And water and sewer really ought to be provided to areas that potentially are going to be inside the city limits of Statesboro. And that's the reason I pulled that up. But we do need you to approve this agreement going to some new owners. However, I think the way the city attorney drafted this is that in the future, we won't have to come if it changes hands.
That's right, it's assignable with the same terms and conditions.
Okay, pretty good, thank you, Ken. All right, anything else, Mr. King?
That's it, Mayor. I recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. King. All right, any discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, I did, and I apologize, I didn't ask staff in advance. But it occurred to me, I know there have been other subdivisions outside the city that developers come in and build roads according to their standards, and then the roads are washing out in terrible shape. And we don't accept subdivisions, even if they're in close to town, or unless they've been built to our standards. So this, we're thinking eventually will be, but are we getting involved with our standards as it's developed about the roads and that sort of thing?
We're talking about more than
I know, but we're also having all this agreement with whoever develops.
Yeah, the water sewer agreement does specify that they'll have to conform to the county standards and or city standards,
Wherever.
whichever's greater, whichever's higher standard.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not familiar with the site plan for this, just the fact that it's a mixed-use residential property, or it's a mixed residential property.
That's what I wanted to know.
If you're interested, I have some information about that. This is in the county. It's a PUD, it's a planned unit development. It's been approved as a PUD. It's not a subdivision, but the PUD requirements incorporate all the county's subdivision requirements, which include the same standards for road construction in the city.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, we're good. All right, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we'll move down to agenda item 12. Consideration of a motion to award an extension of the solid waste landfill agreement with Waste Management of Georgia Incorporated for a one-year term with an option to renew for 1 year additional. Our terms for the contract extension will be in accordance with the current contract with the city of Statesboro. Mr. Bennett.
Mayor, members of the council, our current agreement expires in June, at the end of June. However, when we negotiated this some 5 years ago, we put in there the provision to be able to extend it. And so we're coming to you tonight to extend this agreement for the landfill, the way we dispose of our garbage, solid waste, I'm sorry. And so we recommend approval of this agreement this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that
It's
there
for a
is
1 year term, I'm sorry.
all right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
We move down to agenda item 13, consideration of a motion to award an extension of the solid waste transportation agreement with Atlantic Waste Services for a 1 year term with an option to renew for 1 additional year. Terms of the contract extension will be in accordance with the current contract of the city of Statesboro.
And again, Mayor, this agreement is, they really go together. But the significance of this is, right now, we're dealing with higher gas prices and things of that nature. So it's important to go ahead and get this renewed. And there are provisions that deal with a fuel surcharge when fuel gets to a certain level. And so there's some protection for us, but we do recommend approval of this agreement as well. This is for the hauling of the solid waste that goes out of town.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? All right. Let's move down to agenda item 14, consideration of a motion to award a contract to D-Lands Southern Incorporated in the amount of $153,000 for the Bel Air Subdivision Gas Main and Service Replacement Project with approval to spend up to $250,000. Project to be paid for with the funds of the Natural Gas Capital Improvement Budget Item NGD-106 using 2025 SPLOST. Mr. Bennett.
Mayor, member of the council, I can't add a lot to that. We do recommend approval. This is so that we can get natural gas into that Bel Air subdivision. And hopefully we can get houses attached to them, so it's they become gas utility customers as well. We recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we move down to agenda item 15, consideration of a motion to approve task order 2 with Michael Baker International Incorporated in a not to exceed amount of $958,977.31 for engineering design services for the Bridges on the Creek on the Blue Mile project, STM-34, to be funded by GDOT. Mr. Penny, if you would.
Mayor, members of the council, we brought a contract to you for a task order for Michael Baker Associates. Doesn't seem, Michael Baker International. This is for the bridge design for the creek on the Blue Mile. And so this is only for task order number 2, and that $987,000, we do recommend approval. We'll be coming back as they complete these tasks. The important piece is, with the funding of other bridges, GDOT did provide us funding for the design. And so this would come out of that funding that's made available to us. So we do recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. All right, any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Good? Sure? You gotta count them up today. We're down to agenda item 16, public comment. We have two people that signed up for public comments. We have Donald Samples. Is she here? How you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
All right.
Our concern is your sewer system.
Okay.
We had our sewer system collapsed, and it backed up into the house, and we're having to remodel the inside, we had to pay for the outside, but we did not know we had to pay for the city road.
Okay.
And I think if we have to pay for the road, then it should be our road. No, I'm saying, thousands and thousands, we don't have it. And we can't build nothing on your right of way, so why do we have to pay for the road to be refixed?
Where the sewer meets in, I understand from my driveway to the house, but where it goes from the road, we're having to pay for fixing the road, fixing the sewer, fixing everything. And back in 2021 or 22, we had a flood. We shook out the front of the house. In other words, we spent $10,000-$15,000 remodeling. And then Easter morning, we come home from church, and the rest of the house had water in it. And what it was is back in the 60s, they used, I call it tar paper. And it all collapsed in our street. And there's other houses in Statesboro that they're going to collapse. And we're happy what's going on as far as people fixing it. Y Delta did a good job. Neil Plummer did a great job. And we won't have to do that again. But that's twice that we had to remodel our house, because of the backed up sewer system.
Okay.
And on our street, everybody that lives there, now there's been 3 or 4 probably already done it, but everybody's going to have to do that. And we just think that ought to be the city's problem, as far as fixing it in the road.
And so what street do you want?
113 Bedford Street.
Okay.
They said that the road was private property. That's the reason we had to pay for it.
Yeah. But like I said, now we talked to the city people here, and they're going to help us.
Okay.
But there's some folks that even with help ain't going to be able to do it.
Okay.
Because it was like one time $20,000 to fix it.
Yeah, now, what we did do, and I want to be clear, because we had some conversation about this, we did pass, was that at the last meeting?
Yeah, my son, he's the police, and he said y'all talked about it.
Yeah, did we pass that?
No, y'all
We didn't
didn't.
pass that?
No, y'all were going to talk about your next meeting.
Oh, well, then come back to us, we need some help.
Yeah. But like I said, we talked to people here, and they're going to help us, so that's great.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some folks that ain't going to be able to do nothing because of it.
Yeah.
And we had to go ahead and not bring this before y'all. We had to go fix it because we can't live in our house. We can't even use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we had to go ahead and get it fixed, and they did a wonderful job. But why do we have to pay for the road to be repaved?
And so this is what I want to be clear on. This came up a couple of years ago. How many years ago?
2023.
2023. And so it was my sentiment then that the road should be taken care of by the city. We didn't have enough votes to get it passed at that time. Our hope is now we'll have enough votes to get it passed so that what occurs in the street will be the responsibility of the city. That's been my position from day one. If it's in the street, we're the ones that need to be responsible for it, so forth and so on.
Yes, because there's going to be a lot more folks that you have to deal with, and even our insurance man, sitting back years and years ago, he spent $20,000 to get it fixed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I wish we could have passed it back then, so we wouldn't have to deal with it now. And I can't speak for council, but my sentiment has not changed. I still want to be able to take care of what's in the street, because those are our streets.
Yes, and we do pay sewer fees and water fees.
Yes.
You know.
We've not been late one time in 25 years on our water bill.
Nope, need you to come to my house. Yeah, but with that being said, hopefully we can get, when should we get this before us?
Mayor, we have more work to do before.
Well, that's what
we're ready
this-
to make a-
Yeah, that's what Kelly said, but she did give us, like a grant.
Right now,
We can use that.
Yeah.
That will pay a lot of it,
Yes.
and we appreciate y'all doing
Yeah,
that for us.
that'll help us.
But I'm saying, I mean, we've come up with the money, but I'm just saying the people on our street, they're not.
See, we're retired,
Yeah.
but we got a little more income coming in.
Yeah.
There's some retired that they don't have no sewer
Yeah.
because they want to be able to afford to get the yard dug up, much less the road.
Yeah, exactly. And we're on the same page with this. I'm assuming we're gonna get that relatively soon.
Mayor, I'm gonna say probably in the next 60 to 90 days. We have to do the research. Yeah.
Okay.
All the counties around us, they take care of their own roads.
Yeah.
With the sewer and stuff.
Now, you're not in, are you in the county?
Yeah, we're, no, in
No,
city,
we're-
Behind Space Force.
right behind high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, what they done, will help us and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
But we've got neighbors, and it's not just on Bedford Street,
Yeah.
probably every subdivision around there.
Yeah.
The older
Yeah,
subdivision.
it's the older subdivision that has that Orangeburg pipe.
Yeah, I call it tar paper.
It seemed, it seemed ingenious at the time when they were putting it in, but now it's not, right? So,
And they just paved our road last year. It's
Yeah.
been needing paving forever, but is there a way when you pave the road, if you can check the sewer under it before you pave the road?
Well,
yeah.
so
Go ahead.
And the older subdivision, that'd be the wise thing.
again, we're gonna bring a recommendation to the council.
Okay.
And I want to be clear that we are sympathetic to the issue, but I also need to make sure that we have a policy that the city can maintain going forward. And that's why we did not have it prepared for today's council meeting work session. And so because whatever change we do make is going to have long-term implications.
I don't want HEPA, but.
Yeah, I too, I'm like the mayor, there's certain things that I believe we should be responsible for, but even at that time, I have to make sure that I'm bringing forward recommendations to the council that future councils can stand by, and this council can stand by as well. And so that's why I'm really sort of hedging on where we are. We certainly understand the concern, and that's why in 2023 we came up with the assistance program. Whether we want to make that change, the heart is there, but we also got to make sure that financially it's something that the city can handle. And so that's where, Mayor, I'm just saying, we hope in the next 60 days we'll be able to make a recommendation to council for their consideration.
Well, we appreciate giving, the grant and everything. It helped out, it helped. But,
And Y Delta, they do a great job, and Neil's Plumbing, they do great.
Yeah.
They did good, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, and then we have Ms. Kathy Dixon. Ms. Kathy?
Seems to be the night for pictures for y'all.
That's all right. That's all right.
My name is Kathy Dixon. I live at 14 Claiborne Avenue. Last month, I came and spoke to you about improving traffic flow at some of our older intersections, and I hope I'll hear some conversations about that in the near future. But today, I want to speak to you about abandoned and dilapidated, it'll come out in a minute, properties. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I have a lot of pictures down there, but I got the 1,000 words too. Both houses and commercial property in our town have been abandoned and neglected. One afternoon, my grandson and I took a short drive in areas I pass several times a week just to take some pictures. These are what's in front of you. They're on Main Street, they're in shopping areas, they're in our own neighborhoods. 3 of these are in my own neighborhood, so I see them every single day. I know there has to be some city codes that can address these neglected properties. But let us look at what happens when a property is left sitting. First, the outside is let go. The grass dies, the weeds grow, the shrubs cover the fronts, trash begins to accumulate. Tree limbs fall, roofs fail, weather gets in, creates mold, and mold spores travel, folks. Rodents have free reins. These things cause disease. This becomes a health hazard like this. There actually is a house on my street that people live in, but the trash can has no lid, so the wind carries the trash all over the streets. There are bags of trash or something piled up in the yard, and there's stacks of old carpet in the back. Again, it breeds rodents and disease, and what a sight I see every day when I pass it. The second is a health hazard. This is a health hazard. The second, this creates vandalism. Broken windows, bottles and cans. People begin to think they can throw this trash on this property. It encourages them to do other things. I've even seen a mattress on some of these. Children exploring. Tell a child to stay away from something, and that's an open invitation to go see what it's all about. Drug dens. They leave dangerous items for children, and they cause problems and fights for law enforcement. Fire. When you have this kind of dilapidation and buildup in these areas, it becomes a danger of fire for us all. Third, the neighbors. How would you like to live across from this or next door to this? And when you have no recourse, it seems to get it fixed. Lower property values and less tax revenue. I've been told there's nothing we can do when I've complained and I fail to understand. If there are codes on the books, then you as a governing body should be looking at avenues to control this from happening in our town. You're preparing to spend millions on the West Main and East Main corridor, and yet 8 of these properties are on those streets. A few months back, this council denied a zoning request from a property owner to build a duplex in one of these neighborhoods, saying it was not compatible. But yet one of these houses has sat in this same area boarded up from a fire for at least 3 years that I know of. How is that fair? One of the largest property owners in our city just rented space in a shopping area that's been vacant for over 30 years. They painted half of the store frontage and left the rest alone. 20 more gallons of paint would have made it look a whole lot better. It would have been an improvement for the whole property and maybe even enticed a renter to the property. I asked you, mayor and city councils, to take a ride. And if you are not appalled by what you see in our city, I will be greatly surprised. Rest assured, I by no means have covered all that need to be addressed. I asked you to please begin to take steps to address these issues in our city that we are all proud to call our home. If you need a driver, call on me and we'll take some more pictures. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon, you want?
I'll leave it. I'll get it when we finish.
Okay, good. All right, anybody else for public comments? Okay. All right, we'll move down to, the next item on the agenda. Other business with city council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items I'd like to share this evening, 2 brief announcements, and then a little longer story that I'm really excited about. Number 1, the Averitt Center is hosting the Chamber Orchestra Spring Concert this evening. It's free. Beautiful local musicians are putting on a concert at 7:30, so we're going to get out of here in time. If you want to, go up to the Averitt Center and attend that concert this evening. Tomorrow is Earth Day, and one thing I know of that's going on to celebrate Earth Day is that the Statesboro Regional Art Association is sponsoring a Kindness Rocks event downtown at the West Main Gallery. It's like diagonally across from the post office. It's free from 4 to 6. You go in. They're going to have some of those recycled rocks that are made from plastic by the local recycler, and they're free with supplies. So you go and paint them, and you can take them home, or you can hide them downtown for other people to find. Little bits of inspiration. So that's 4 to 6 tomorrow in celebration of Earth Day. The third thing I'm really excited to share, I mentioned before, these are visibility bands that says Greener Borough on them. City of Statesboro Greener Borough Commission is sponsoring this as one of many efforts to try to make Statesboro safer for bikers and for walkers. And so we, a local lady who wanted to honor her husband, because the two of them used to walk in neighborhoods all over Statesboro. When he died last year, she decided this was a good way to honor his memory. So she sponsored the first 2,500 of these. So they're going to be available. We'll have them downstairs starting tomorrow here at City Hall. The Statesboro Police Department will also have some available, so you can stop and ask at the desk. They're free. You can put them on your sleeve, on your leg, on your bicycle, wherever. The bright green makes you more visible to drivers, and then at night it's reflective, so it shines if you have to be out walking in the dark. So if anybody here, I have some with me, so after the meeting, if you want one, raise your hand or come up to me and I'll be glad to share them. And I thank Greener Borough and the local lady who sponsored these, and the police department and the staff downstairs for helping us get them out to folks to keep everybody safer. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sharon. All right, we'll move on to city manager's comments.
Mayor, members of the council, I don't have a lot tonight, but I just want to call out. It was great this afternoon to try and cut the ribbon at Whitesville Park. It's a great turnout, and I think that park is going to be very well used. But I also think it's a great addition to our inventory for our parks, and so we're very proud of that. The longest table is scheduled for May the 2nd at 4 o'clock. And so we want everybody to put that on there, on East Main Street, on their agenda. And then also want to mention that the budget work session is scheduled for May the 12th, 2 o'clock p.m. To go through our budget process. And so we'll be from 2 until we finish going through our budget. And I just want to mention, and I appreciate Ms. Dixon's taking her time to ride around, and we do have code enforcement. But Ms. Dixon, I do just need for the public to understand there's a process, and that process doesn't work as fast as we'd like for it to work. The house that you spoke about that's been burned out for 3 years is under code enforcement. It is also in the court system, and the court system dictates how fast we can move on that. And so at the same time, we share your concern, and that's why we have our staff committed. We have 2 people that are committed to that. But it also requires, once we move on that, we also have to have funds available to demolish those. Last year, I think we funded $250,000 out of, we had some revenues that we were able to do. And so we took down that old nursing home over on Lovett. They had been sitting idle for almost 20 years, man. And so now that lot is cleared up. And so I'll just say from council has taken action, but there's a process and that process is a slow process, but we hear you and we agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. All right, do we need executive session today? No, sir. Thank you. All right, we'll move down to agenda item 20, which is consideration of a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor? All right, thank you, Stacy.